Hi there. Hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. My name is Jake Query. That individual is Derek Schultz, and this is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named Derek. What are you doing? You're just staring. You look like a.
Do you have to point this out every time, Jake?
You're just staring.
I have years.
You look like Cindy Brady on the ice cream eating show.
I have years. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, Cindy Brady. She was the youngest of the Brady's pigtails. She went on an ice cream eating show. She froze.
Is that when they do the nose twitch and like stuff appears?
No, that's Bewitched.
Okay, well, I'm not familiar with like ancient television. I have decades of television experience, Jake, so I know exactly what I'm doing when I'm on camera.
Well, regardless, this is the Query and Schultz program here, the incredibly creatively and appropriately named, brought to you by WGU Indiana, because remember, ambition never rests. And that's the wonderful thing about Indiana's accredited online university, WGU, that we'll talk about later in the program. But the fact that you make your own hours, your own flexibility. And if you are business ready, so too is WGU, ready to get you involved in the business world with that business degree. You can find out more at wgu.edu/business ready. We'll talk more about WGU coming up in the program, but we always appreciate their sponsorship. Derek, when it comes to business ready, flat out, Indianapolis Colts were not against the Tennessee Titans. They were banged up, I realize. You had COVID stuff and you had injuries. And then, Anthony Costanzo, we found out how important he is, but come on, not a good performance.
Yeah, and what kind of bothered me about it, look, let's set the table for this. You're right, with the COVID stuff and the injuries. So you had no DeForest Buckner. You had no Danico Autry, two really, really important defensive linemen, right? No Jonathan Taylor, who we thought may have had a breakout game against Green Bay last week. No Ryan Kelly due to the injury. You only had Anthony Costanzo for a quarter. Those are three of your five most important players. I mean, if I'm making a list, Costanzo, Buckner, and Kelly are definitely in the top five.
Correct.
Definitely. With where the Colts are.
And Autry's a really nice complimentary piece.
And they don't have, at least they have some depth on the defensive line. They don't have any depth on the offensive line at all. I mean, you had to throw in Pinzer and LaRaven Clark miraculously is still on this team. I mean, I don't know. I have no idea what the Colts see in LaRaven Clark, but I've been waiting like 10 years for him to show that he's a competent football player.
With him, are you saying never more? Is that what you're saying?
So getting back to the actual loss from yesterday.
Do you realize people love that kind of thing? When I throw that out there, and I think it just – and it's not hard because you're like 5'2", but just right over every time.
I'm going to let that one go.
Okay.
Overall, because I'm in a good mood, but don't push the boundaries too much.
Lets things go every once in a while. I'm just going to let that one go.
He does, yeah. Right? Just right by, like a turnstile at Menards or something like that. Yeah,
have that, yeah.
Spin right through.
Right.
I was surprised how overwhelmed they were on both sides of the line because Tennessee wasn't playing at full strength. Tennessee was down to their LT3. I mean, they had major injuries on their offensive line. Yeah, their third LT3. I just said it. You can shorten it if you want to. And their defensive line's not very good. Their defensive line is mediocre, and the Colts were just getting blown off the ball. Just completely overwhelmed.
Derek, the real issue in this game, aside from those things, was the fact that, and this blows my mind. I remember watching Derrick Henry at Alabama. He was a Heisman winner, obviously. And I'm watching him, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy is a franchise-level player in the NFL because he is so big, so durable, and so strong. I mean, when you have a guy like that on your roster, it can change the trajectory of what you want to do from game in and game out. He went over 5,000 career yards against Indianapolis. I mean, for his career, he happened to do it against Indianapolis this weekend. But, look, he's got like 15% of those yards against the Colts. Makes sense. He's played them 10 times. But this guy's a thoroughbred, Derek, and he absolutely set the tone for the game, and the Colts had no answer at all.
Yeah, I think maybe people overlooked Henry because Alabama running backs haven't been as good as advertised in the league. And that's probably unfair, right? We did this with USC quarterbacks for a while where you had guys like Matt Leinart and Mark Sanchez, and then they get in the league, and I guess Sanchez had some limited success. Leinart didn't. And Todd Marinovich, I mean, if you want to go back a little bit, Rodney Peete, the same sort of a thing. And I think with Trent Richardson flaming out the way that he did and Mark Ingram having a nice career, yeah, but not being like an overwhelmingly great player, I think maybe Eddie Lacy bared the brunt of that. And also that we've de-emphasized the running back position in general.
Right.
But you know exactly what's coming with Henry, and he still does it. It's a lot like what Mariano Rivera was, where you knew the cutter was coming, try to hit it. And the Titans know, hey, here he is. Try to stop him. I mean, and teams still can't do it.
And we use the term too often, I think. We use the term, he's a downhill runner. but it really applies with Derrick Henry. I mean, and give Tennessee credit because they're getting him huge holes. But by the time he gets to the line of scrimmage, if he's got a full head of steam, look out, man. I mean, he is running downhill. And, I mean.
But I think it's important to point this out as well, Jake.
He averages 6.1 yards per carry career against the Colts.
It's crazy. The Titans have had other great running backs. Remember Chris Johnson, who ran for 2,000 yards? I mean, the Titans have had good rushing attacks. I think what changes the dynamic with Henry is that they can throw, too. A.J. Brown at wide receiver is a playmaker. Corey Davis is having he was a former top 5 pick, is having a bit of a breakout season this year. Ryan Tannehill is a far more competent quarterback than Vince Young or Marcus Mariota or Kerry Collins or anybody else that they've tried it out there. So I just think in general, this offense is much better than Titans teams that we're used to. You're right that Derrick Henry is the straw that stirs the drink, but I think this is a much more complete unit than what we're used to seeing in these AFC South matchups.
You know what I thought about while I was watching the Colts-Titans game?
What's that?
You mentioned
getting
running backs.
Run over by a truck? Because that's what I thought about watching that game.
You mentioned running backs that Tennessee's had. And to me, within that franchise, Earl Campbell comes to mind, but I realize that's in the past.
Yeah.
Eddie George is like the staple Titan player. Now, obviously, Derrick Henry. They had Marcus Mariota for a couple of years there. And then it dawned on me. And if I'm wrong here, somebody email me and let me know. But I don't believe that a Heisman winner, there have been, I believe, 3 or 4 Heisman winners that have played in the Colts franchise. None in Indianapolis. I don't believe there's ever been a Heisman Trophy winner that has played for the Indianapolis Colts.
I'll look
Baltimore,
up a list here real quick, and we'll eyeball it. But Derrick, off the top of my head, I think you're right.
You got the list right here.
Well, no, we already did this on the show where you listed the Heisman winners, and
it's very impressive.
We got a ton of negative feedback over it.
No, we had an entire meeting the other day about it.
They tracked the tune-out rate, and the tune-out rate was heavy during that time when you were just listing like Billy Sims's career accolades. People were like, "Click."
Billy Sims was great player.
Let's see.
He's not the best number 20 in Lions history, but he's darn
Vinny
close.
Testaverde played for like all 30 NFL teams, right? Was he ever in Indianapolis?
He was never here.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not seeing one here. Unless there was like a late ad, like they had Danny Warfel on the practice squad one time or something.
No, they had who was the fella that was Shane Matthews? Didn't they have? He's a Florida quarterback.
I think they did, from the fun and gun era.
He had a sweet mustache. Absolutely fantastic mustache. But anyway, let's get back to it, Derrick, and set the table on what to use your term. Since it's Thanksgiving week, and I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving. Did you have a nice Thanksgiving?
It was nice. It was abnormal as it was for everybody else, but it was nice. My wife had to work. But
you got Chinese, right?
Yeah.
What'd you get?
We had to eat on Friday because I didn't realize, unlike Christmas, Chinese places aren't open on Thanksgiving.
Really?
Because we had gotten Chinese a couple of years. The last year that her parents were in Vermont and mine were in Connecticut, we went to Szechuan Garden, and that's since closed. And so I was like, we'll just order from some other Chinese place. And I got voicemail and after voicemail after voicemail.
Really?
Not that I'm expecting people to work Thanksgiving, but I was looking forward to Chinese.
So what did you end up eating?
We had Jamaican patties.
Oh, how good is that, though? No, wait a minute. Where did you, Jamaica patties?
We have a
we buy in Allisonville, the best. Stefan is the absolute best. I went to high school with them. That is an institution. Did you have the frozen?
Yeah, we buy a big bag of the frozen, and that is like our emergency dinner when we have nothing ready. We're like, let's just pop in a couple of patties and boom. Instant
patties
dinner.
of Jamaica.
They're so good.
That is the absolute best. But let's set the table for what we have on the program today because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah, obviously we'll get into the Colts, and I don't want to overreact too much to this loss. I think it really puts them in a bad spot for the division, but the wild card is still there for the taking for the Colts. So we'll outlay. I know that you love when I start talking playoff probabilities. Grab your calculators. Oh, sorry. Now
this is the worst.
I'm breaking stuff.
The worst.
To get my calculator.
let me tell you. Speaking of high tune-out, okay. Let me tell you where we have high tune-out. Number one, if the playoffs were to begin today, well, they're not, right? No, if Christmas were today, it's not. You still have like a month to shop. Number two is when you start getting into the VORP, QBR 3, but still,
QBR's football.
It makes no sense.
Do I talk like that, by the way? Because I think I have a really kind of a deep, sultry. Like there's a sexiness to my voice that I don't think you portray properly.
You can think whatever you want.
So we'll talk Colts. College football weekend, Purdue losing to Rutgers, and now I think some really big concerns about Jeff Brohm. It's year 4 now, and things seem to be regressing more than they're progressing.
And they have look. He's got 2 of the best offensive weapons in the conference.
Indiana with another easy win, but terrible injury news, a big loss, which we'll talk about. Notre Dame takes care of business against probably their last real test.
You're struggling
of the regular season
so
at
far.
North Carolina.
You're kicking words. You're staring hypnotically
I'm
at
parched.
the camera.
I'm parched a little bit.
Well, here's what you need. Little wood warbler coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always the
some this
easiest
morning.
thing to say, right? Wood warbler coffee. Might not roll off the tongue, but boy, does it roll right through it. Because wood warbler coffee, which is bird friendly, I've known Jeff Canada basically since elementary school. Great guy, based right in Noblesville, local, small business. And he decided that he wanted to get into the coffee roasting and distribution business and wanted to do it by making sure that he was getting coffee from around the world that is bird friendly. And by that, it means essentially what that means, Derek, because we went through and toured everything at Wood Warbler, which is fantastic. But the coffee beans are grown in places where they make sure that the fields themselves are done in a way that is not harmful to birds.
Yeah,
That's
not
basically
heavy
what it means.
deforestation and all of that,
Correct.
which can take these natural habitats away from these
One
birds.
cup at a time. You can actually go to woodwarblercoffee.com. And again, that is wood, just like wood, right? Warbler, W-A-R-B-L-E-R. That's a kind of bird. Woodwarblercoffee.com to place your orders where you can get roasted coffee right there by the bean. He can grind it for you, too, either way.
And we're working on a release before the holidays of Hot Cup of Schultz. Also,
Okay.
for the holidays,
People are waiting on that.
when you're snuggling up, I mean, what do you think of getting under a blanket with a loved one and having a nice cup of Wood Warbler coffee,
the last part of that, true.
a holiday blend?
I want no part of you being snuggled under anything.
We're
in my house
trying
for
to
the
think of
holidays.
something involving chestnuts, like chestnuts roasting on the open fire, and then like a hot bag of Schultz,
Derek.
but the nuts part of it, the chestnuts as
I can
well.
assure you, when it comes to you and imagery of you for people consuming things, neither chest nor nuts are anywhere, any way, shape, or form involved in the marketing. Promise you.
I'm a happily married man. Shout out to Ashley if she's on the off chance that she's actually watching this.
Mm-hmm.
But let me tell you, there are a lot of people that would like to get under a blanket because I'm a public figure. I think that has a lot
Okay.
to do with it.
All right,
People want
sure.
to attach themselves to
Well,
people that are
when we
public
come back,
faces.
regardless of the fact that Derek's not really a public figure, nor am I promise we will not get into any more private moments like that are uncomfortable. Plenty to get to, a lot to talk about, including college football. We'll expand on that next on Query and Schultz.
Dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz. You know, this time of year, Derek, I mentioned it before, but downtown comes alive, and I know that there are challenges right now in downtown Indianapolis, but it's still a great place to go, especially during the holidays. See Monument Circle, see the Cherub on the clock at Ellis Harris. By the way, there's a new Cherub t-shirt for the holidays at the shop, theshopindy.com.
Is that really cool?
One of our sponsors,
Yeah.
yep, 920 Broadapple Avenue
didn't know
or
that.
Carmel and Clay Terrace. But when you're downtown, one of the great institutions downtown is, of course, St. Elmo Steakhouse. Who doesn't love St. Elmo? It's been around since 1902, an Indianapolis institution, and now your chance to make the famous Elmo Cola. Simply put a couple of rocks of ice inside a glass, and then the St. Elmo bourbon right here. You can see it, vanilla beans, and it's got that dark cherry
Delicious.
with it. Then you garnish it with 2 cherries, straight bourbon whiskey, dark cherry, and bourbon vanilla beans from St. Elmo. Available, Derek, at fine places around central Indiana, such as?
Myers, Targets, Kroger's,
Yeah, that's just,
Walmarts,
you don't have to put the S on everything.
everywhere and anywhere.
Okay.
We went downtown on Saturday for Small Business
What about
Saturday.
at Marsh? Do they
and
have it at
had-
Marsh?
Well, Marsh is closed now, unfortunately.
Well, they.
I feel like we bring up Marshes every week on
I
the
worked
show.
at Marsh. I worked at Amalia's as well.
We took
2 of
Big
the shirts
Boy
we have here from the shop.
downtown to send his letter to Santa.
Oh,
They
yeah.
have a mailbox right there on the circle, so we went down there. But also hit some of the small businesses around the area. Homespun with our friend Neil Taflinger and his wife run
go to
that
Silver in the
on
City?
Mass Ave. Yep, we went over there. We went to a lot of the shops on Mass Ave, but also to a couple of other places as well. Kids Inc. in Midtown, a bookstore that we like to go to. So it's important. Wood Warburg
So like
Coffee.
54th and 5th Broadway? We're in Midtown.
No, well, Broadway, I guess, is technically Midtown. It's getting a little more east, but no, 54th in Illinois. 56th in Illinois. Sorry, for Kids Inc.
Yeah, it's just Meridian Kessler.
Actually, that's the Butler Tarkington side because it's west of Meridian. Yeah, but it's part of Midtown. Okay. Butler Tarkington and Meridian Kessler. All these brands, Wood Warburg Coffee, the Shop Indie, Hughes Culinary Brands. These are all local businesses.
Yeah, you're
so
right.
I know that we think of it on Small Business Saturday, but guys, holiday season and for gift giving, please support these businesses that make our community special.
In terms of this community, there's been a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement over the last couple of weeks about Indiana football, rightly so. IU finds themselves in the first college football playoff rankings. The Hoosiers were 12th for Tom Allen. What they're doing that to me is interesting is they are not only winning games over opponents that they should beat, but they're doing so fairly convincingly.
It's easy.
They are doing so convincingly, but now things become a bit of a challenge. But I think Indiana is equipped to be able to handle this latest curveball thrown their way. There.
Yeah, we just learned. We're taping this right now on Monday morning, and we just learned that.
You don't need to say that. You just say earlier this week.
I want to be – honesty is the best policy, Jake. That's kind of the difference between me and you, both on and off the air. Michael Penix out for the year now with a lower leg injury. I shouldn't say out for the year. Expected to miss the rest of the season. That from Bruce Feldman with the report. I think he's with The Athletic now. He was with CBS
the season,
for a while.
The remainder of the season consists of, what, 3 games?
No, 2 games. Well, potentially a Big Ten championship game, which technically Indiana is still alive for because if Ohio State has another COVID cancellation, Indiana would be the Big Ten East champion.
What are the
by
odds?
Default, but still.
I'm going to come up with a tinfoil hat. Do you have a tinfoil hat?
Sorry, you're asking me if I have Reynolds wrap like in my bag?
Yeah, why not?
I have a Ziploc bag.
You're the only person I
have
know.
some hand
Derek,
sanitizer.
You'd be perfect on Let's Make a Deal. You got that little bag you carry around that's got everything.
Let's actually
you know what I mean?
see what's in here.
Yeah, okay. Here we go. We'll be Monty Hall and Let's Make a Deal.
All right.
I got $50 for anybody that's got a Swiss Army knife. Here's Derek. Oh, here I happen to have one right here.
I have.
It's a cute bag there.
Dave & Buster's power cards.
Okay.
Hand sanitizer.
Yeah, that's important.
My chargers had some problems. I put some electrical tape on it because the wires were getting all frayed.
Okay.
But it still works. It was smoking the other day.
It was smoking, huh? What else do you have in common with
a
it?
lot of bottles of hand sanitizer
Okay.
in this.
Well, that's
bad boy.
important. Yeah.
Oh, you can never get enough of these.
What's that?
Charging bricks.
Yeah.
Plug those in everywhere.
Okay.
And this is just the front pouch, Jake.
Yeah. Well, I think we've made the point here.
I have my folder.
Okay,
so it's Final
wonderful.
Four. You and me made some memories in Atlanta in 2013 when we got sent down there.
Strangely enough,
you still have your folder, right?
I didn't even know we got them.
Yeah.
I have no memory of that other than I think that's the place where I got in a fight with a guy at the hotel.
You did.
Yeah.
I had to diffuse that situation.
You did.
That was going to get physical. We could tell that story on a we have too much to talk about today, but we could tell that story on a different day. All of my Schultz Media LLC receipts and just bookkeeping, just part of being a brand. No big deal.
Okay. Sure.
This is where I keep my laptop.
Yeah, okay,
in here.
we've done enough of that. I don't even remember now what we were talking about. Oh, tinfoil hat. Here, so you don't have your tinfoil hat in your bag. You have everything else apparently. But if I was to put on a tinfoil hat, I would say, is it possible that Michigan, who's what now, 2-4, lost to Penn State?
At least
they
might be
State's
2-5
only win
now. But yeah, they're
is it
losing
possible?
record.
2-5 sounds right, actually. What are the odds, since Ohio State only has 2 remaining games, the 2 Michigan schools, Michigan
I know
State
what you're
and
going to
say, that Jim Harbaugh, whose brother John is overseeing an outbreak in the NFL with the Ravens, what are the odds that Jim Harbaugh says, you know what, we had 6 guys just test positive at the University of Michigan on the football team, so unfortunately we've got to postpone or cancel our game with the Buckeyes of Ohio State, and thus boots Ohio State right out of the Big Ten championship picture.
Now, you tell me, because I don't know the answer to this. Is that the Big Ten's call, or is that these individual teams where they say we're not playing? Because I thought it was the conference that comes in and decides.
That may be.
So Michigan may not be able to, because a lot of people were tweeting me, hey, would Michigan in the ultimate troll move just lay down and say we're not going to play? Right. And I wonder if the Big Ten would say, no, you're playing unless you have this many positive tests or there's this sort of an outbreak. No, it's interesting. I mean, this is Jake, it's just a mess right now. The NFL was a disaster this past week with what the Broncos had to do, and now it's just we're not even putting up this veil of caring about protecting everybody. This is full steam ahead. We're already this far. Let's go.
I would agree
Football
with that.
money, cash those checks. Let's move. And that's fine if they want to do that. Look, I'm not going to sit here and say that you need to get into a bunker or anything like that. I'm fine with adults making decisions, but it does make me uncomfortable that we've decided to just kind of throw everything else out.
You know what's peculiar to me that no one seems to be talking about? What's peculiar to me is that here we are during a pandemic, and they're going to play games in stadiums with limited fans. And that's fine. I get it. I mean, I understand it. But Lucas Oil Stadium, they're allowing 12,000 fans now, 12,500.
Yeah, 12.5, yep.
So 1/5 the normal, but yet tickets are always available. How's that possible?
I think there are a lot of people that are just choosing not to do this. Like we were Butler season ticket holders for the last 3 years, and we're not going to a game. We're just not. I'm not going to sit indoors with my 70-year-old dad. And I love Hinkle, and we love going to games, but it's just something that we're just giving up for this year. It's just not – we don't feel like we want to put ourselves out there to do something like that.
Right.
And I think a lot of other people feel the same way.
Yeah,
I mean it is these teams have to make money, right? At the end of the day, it's money. It is kind of ridiculous that we're having fans at all. Yes, in a 70,000-seat football stadium, you could space out, and when you have 2K in a 10K basketball gym, you could space out, but – man, if there was ever an excuse not to have fans, this would be it.
Yeah, I mean but regardless, I don't even know how we got off on that. So does Ohio State? If Ohio State could not play in the Big Ten championship game, and Indiana has to go in their place, way cart before horse here. But if Ohio State's played like 4 games and they're 4-0, are they still in the college football playoff? Because I do think they're one of the 4 best teams.
Yeah, you know what? I know they're not eligible for the Big Ten championship, obviously, but I don't know if there's a threshold for college football playoff eligibility. I don't know what you do with that. We could look it up. You kind of put me on the spot. I don't know.
I mean, I guess I was speaking hypothetically.
Well, if Wisconsin,
if they were allowed, should they be allowed in?
If Wisconsin has another cancellation, they're not eligible. And I know that they lost the head-to-head with Northwestern, so a little bit less of a default situation. But you could potentially have Indiana and Northwestern play each other for the right to go to the Rose Bowl, which is, well, actually the Rose Bowl is one of the playoff games this year, right?
Didn't you look this stuff up?
See,
you're supposed to do prep work.
How the tables have turned. You put me on the spot. I just put you on the spot. There you go. Split out. We're even.
The Rose Bowl is.
I think it is one of the playoff games this year.
And what's the other one?
Guys, come on, stop doing this. We're not just going to trade putting each other on the spot.
It's not orange, right?
We're supposed to be experts on this.
Sugar.
Stuff. Let's move on.
Sugar.
Let's move on to Purdue,
Cotton.
Jake, because it was a really, really.
You know what's cotton? This T-shirt, which, by the way, is available from the Shop Indy for the Indianapolis ABCs. The American Beverage Company was the title sponsor for the Indianapolis ABCs Negro League team, which won a championship back in either 15 or 16 of 1900. Oscar Charleston was their star. He later went on to manage for him. 1976 Baseball Hall of Fame inductee and the pride of Indianapolis. He was born right here in the city. But I love this shirt from the shop. TheShopIndy.com. Clay Terrace in Carmel, or also 920 Broadapple Avenue. You were saying?
I was saying a really disappointing performance by Purdue, losing to Rutgers. And my whole – I don't know about you, but Saturday night all my Twitter mentions were Brohm and the contract.
Got to win that game, though, Derek.
Yeah, you really do.
Look,
and I'm pro Brohm. I still think
Understood.
Jeff Brohm is the guy, but it's a results business, and eventually the results are going to have to show on the field.
I think part of that loss for Purdue, the sting is the fact that it was, in fact, Rutgers, as you call them, but it's Rutgers, clearly. The Rose and Sugar, by the way, are the 2 semifinal games. So I was right.
You said Cotton.
No, I jokingly said Cotton. I said Rose and Sugar.
But when you're the second highest paid coach in the Big Ten,
but Rutgers is more competent than I think the brand in your mind, this year.
Oh, but they still have a long way to go. Yeah,
they do.
They're not as bad as they were the last couple of years because Schiano actually knows what he's doing, and he's going to turn them back around again.
You are a top 10 team. A top 10 paid coach. Sorry. You are a coach paid in the top 10, and your team is losing at home to Rutgers. That's challenging. Now, you see right here, Derek, do you notice what we have here?
Yeah.
If we had the telestrator.
Well, what do you mean? There's nothing to notice. That's their jersey. It says Rutgers on it.
It's Rutgers, but in this camera angle, I thought you'd like it because it just says Rutgers.
That's their jersey.
No, they are They are Rutgers.
No, you see it right there. It's just Rutger.
You can see
white.
the top of the S. It's right there.
That's mud from the
just
field.
needs to turn
See the
around.
grass stain right there?
Yeah, no,
That's
just-
like a little bit of something on there, like a little bit of mud.
No.
A little bit of brown.
Just needs to turn around. It's Rutgers.
No,
yeah.
it's correct, Jake. Purdue is 6-11 since Brohm signed that deal. 6-11.
And
And they were only 500 when he signed the deal. You know what I mean? It's not like you were blowing everybody away. The recruiting has gotten a lot better. The facilities are great. But we talked to Mike Babinski a lot during that time when they were investing in the football program. And when you put yourself out there as an athletic department and, heck, as a university with Mitch Daniels, I mean, everybody had to sign off on this.
Right.
Purdue doesn't just throw $6 million contracts. It's unprecedented. You've got to win. And do you have to be Ohio State? No. Do you have to be, Michigan, traditionally what Michigan has been? No. But, man, you can't be losing to Rutgers and teams like that.
Right.
Can't be.
Rutgers, yeah. We have other things to get to, though, including some of our weekly segments that we do each and
We
every
do.
week,
Also,
right?
we're going to talk while we're on the college sports thing, college basketball opening up.
Yep.
Butler had to reshut everything down, but Purdue takes a loss to Clemson. Jake, a huge Clemson hoops fan as well, so
No,
he'll give
I'm
us
not.
the take on
I
the Clemson
like the
Tigers
university,
men's
sure.
basketball team. Mm-hmm. And then we'll talk a little IU as well.
Purdue has something that's very intriguing to me that we'll get to.
That 7'3" kid, he's huge.
7'4".
Is he 7'4"?
I believe he's 7'4".
My God. How do they find these guys? They have one every year.
I know. But I want to comment on that because I've got some critique.
Corey and Schultz, back with more next. ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
At an Indiana dairy farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
Because Brian saved 5 lives and started a movement.
Because Lester is a hero as a veteran and an organ donor.
Because Allie's legacy lives on.
Because I know how quickly it can be taken away.
I'm driven.
I am driven to save lives.
I'm driven to save lives. Are you?
More than 4 million Hoosiers have teamed up with Indiana Donor Network to save lives. Sign up to become an organ donor at driven2savelives.org.
Yeah.
Welcome back. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network, alongside Jake Query. I'm Derek Schultz. This segment of the show, basically all segments of the show, because they're our presenting sponsor and they're great, brought to you by our friends at WGU Indiana.
There's Sage taking a look at you.
Best thing about WGU Indiana, Jake?
Sage? The
No,
owl
that
mascot.
is definitively not the best.
Owls
thing
are nocturnal,
about WGU
and
Indiana.
ambition never rests. That's why it's WGU's the Owls.
What I was going to say was the best thing about WGU Indiana is the fact that you make everything on your own time, completely flexible.
Totally.
Take classes when you want. My wife did that, actually got her certification after nursing school, WGU Indiana. All you have to do is go online, wgu.edu/Indiana, and check out all that they have to offer you. A proud sponsor of this show and a great partner of ours since the relaunch here on ISC Sports Network.
You could also go, by the way, to wgu.edu/business-ready and find out about their business degrees that are available online and the different ways that you can finance those. What's that?
I've been telling everybody that I have a business degree, and they're like, well, did you actually go to business school? And I said, just from the streets. Like, I run my own business, Schultz Media LLC, so I'm pretty sure I'm a business expert.
You were the wait a minute. You have an LLC that's Schultz Media LLC?
Yeah, you know it, brother.
You're the first Schultz ever to work in the media?
There was a Schultz Media LLC somewhere in upstate New York, but they had lapsed on their certificate of organization. So I swooped in and grabbed it. It was a father-son team, but they were not relevant.
My LLC is Query Painting.
Why?
Because Mark Dutton, a buddy of mine who that's what he does for a living, is these kinds of things, an attorney, and he set up my LLC, and he goes, look, you need a name for it. And he said, I think it'd be fun if you just did something that has nothing to do with what you do for a living. I said, okay. And he goes, like a painting business. I said, well, I paint pictures. Like when I call a race, people say I paint the picture. So, okay, query painting. And I get mailers all the time for like wholesale paint.
Yeah, Sherwin-Williams wants to talk to you about.
Constantly.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the case because my lawyer, Josh, who's actually a friend of Carly, my stylist. So, I have a great team of people that are around me.
Carly, your stylist.
He didn't mention it. She cuts my hair.
Okay.
That
clearly.
If you wonder why this looks so good,
clearly
that's why.
doesn't pick out
Can we
your
get that? Yeah,
sweaters.
there we go. Can we get that just real quick? What do you mean? This is Banana Republic clearance from the outlets down in Edinburgh.
Okay.
It's nice.
There's
What
a
were we
reason.
going to talk? We were going to talk about college hoops a little bit, weren't we?
Yeah.
I mean, there's not much to say. Purdue at least played a Power 5 team. They played Clemson, so and lost. You got a little bit of a test there, but they're dealing with some injury issues with Eric Hunter being out. I think Purdue and Indiana are in very similar positions where they're kind of like fringe top 25 teams who would probably be NCAA tournament teams, but like somewhere in like the 7, 8, 9 seed kind of range of teams.
I think Purdue, we have seen, to your point, Derek, Purdue is known for their big men, right? I mean, going back even before Matt Painter. I mean, back in the Gene Cady era, everything from Jim Rowinski to Steve Scheffler. I mean, on and on and on, right? And, Brad Miller, and then you move into with Painter, and obviously Isaac Haas and Matt Harms, who you have famous photos with both.
Yeah, even Caleb Swanigan. I know he wasn't a 7-footer, but he's a big dude.
But now you have, is it 7'3" or 7'4"?
Yeah, I'll look it up here to be absolutely sure. I thought it was 7'3", but, I mean, we're splitting hairs a little bit, right?
Okay, so, well, I mean, there's a big difference.
7'3".
7'3" or it's 7'3", are you sure?
7'3", officially listed on the Purdue website.
What all does it say on the bio there?
Actually, wait, on the Purdue website, he's 7'4", but on Google search, he's 7'3".
Okay. And his name totally escapes me right now.
Zach Edey.
That's right. So, look, he played in his background, and this is an important thing, I think, for parents. Here's a kid that is 7'3" or 4", depending who you ask. And yet, I think at this point, 2 games in, 3 games in, I mean, look, we're not – but he has already shown, I think, a basketball IQ higher than what you saw in Isaac Haas or Matt Harms at this point in their career when they first arrived on campus. And by that I mean that you don't see – like Rick Smits, I think early in his career you saw this a lot when he was with the Pacers. You could see the gears moving in his head when the ball gets to him of figuring out, okay, what do I do here? What am I – no. There appears to be a natural instinct and a natural fluid movement. And that comes from, I think, the fact that he played hockey growing up. As recently as like 3 years ago, he was playing hockey.
He wanted to be a baseball player. He wanted to be the first 7-foot pitcher.
He played other sports.
Yeah.
It is so critically important, I think, for people to play other sports because it introduces your muscle movement and your body movement in other areas that are then beneficial for you. Tim Duncan was a swimmer and a soccer player. And then, he had the height for basketball. Well, his footwork was unbelievable and his movement was fluid and everything else. That's what you're seeing right now. But we are seeing, I think, already a version at this point that is more offensively fluid and competent this early in the career versus other guys we've seen at this size at Purdue. I mean, that's another one to go back to what I was talking about with Derrick Henry at the beginning of the show. When I look at him, I just think, how did nobody else – you can't even call it take a flyer because he's good. He's not dominant yet, but he's good. How did nobody else recruit this heavily this player?
Yeah, well, you wonder if he looked at Purdue and said, look at what they did with Matt Harms, look what they did with Isaac Haas, and I feel like this is the best place for me to go. But you're right. A lot of times, the way that I would put it, Jake, is that when you're 18 years old and 7'3", you have no idea how to be 7'3". You're like 6'2" in a 7'3" body. And there's no fluidity, right? He looks like he has fluidity.
Right.
Isaac Haas, I think, is the great example of that, where he's 7'2" or whatever, and he didn't really – he had to learn that. Footwork-wise, had to kind of get there and develop. And there's still a lot for Zach Edey to develop, but you're right. I mean, I thought that he's given them some really good minutes so far, and it's an interesting team to me because – Travion Williams, I think, has the ability to be a standout star-level player in the Big Ten, and they're going to need him to do that. But there are a lot of guys that are high ceiling guys. Like, I still think Aaron Wheeler can be a really good player. He was kind of a disaster last year.
Aaron Wheeler has become.
I still think Wheeler can be a good player.
My buddy Dean Sisson, who I went to IU with, and we shared our tickets together in Indiana for basketball games in the mid-'90s. And we have a running gag with each other to this day. Every game when Dean and I would go to a game, he'd say, man, I think this is the game Charlie Miller's going to break out. Charlie Miller. And that's kind of Aaron Wheeler, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, for sure.
Because he looks the part. He's got the size. He can play 2 or 3. You get kind of excited by it. Still waiting.
It is just funny, though, how you can almost like typecast Purdue's rosters where Sasa Stefanovic, they've always had a guy like that, right? Ryan Klein.
35.
Dakota Mathias, even though Mathias by the end of it became an amazing defender as well. He was far more than just a shooter for them. He was one of their most important players. And then Harms, Haas, and now into Edey. It's almost like these rosters all kind of, the names and faces change,
right,
but they put pieces in there that can kind of do similar things. And, I think they're going to be a good team this year. Indiana as well, even though Indiana's got to rely on Trey Galloway and Christian Lander and a lot of guys who are really young
Galloway
to step
looks
up
like
to
a nice
the plate.
player.
But when you've got Trace Jackson Davis, who's probably one of the, 20 best players in America, somewhere around there, then you can allow those other guys to kind of evolve and progress around.
I think Christian Lander, because, early on, not getting, 35 minutes a game, by the end of the year, he's going to be getting that kind of – he's going to be he's a very important player for them. I think that because he's a pure point, what doesn't get talked about a lot is I think he's got a really nice mid-range game. I think he's going to be a key piece for them by the end of the year.
And then with Butler, Aaron Thompson had a really nice debut. Offensively, he's never been known for that, but I thought he was a great player for them last year. You're never going to replace Kamar Baldwin. Kamar Baldwin and Keelan Martin and guys like that are once every 5 or 10 years type guys, and I know that they technically intersected. But you've got Bryce Enzi and Golden back, and you've got some familiar faces and then some newcomers as well. Jair Bolden, who was the GW, South Carolina. He's transferred from like 18 different places who they're not going to rely on as a starter. So the problem is that, and I don't know the lay of the land as well in the Big East, the Big Ten is really good. And, Illinois and Iowa are not only good, like people think of them as Final Four
Illinois looks good.
teams.
Yeah.
And when you have that, Illinois and Iowa, who are usually kind of middling teams in the Big Ten, and you still have Michigan State and Ohio State and Michigan and all these programs that are consistently successful, it's going to be tough.
Kids.
No, that's meddling, M-E.
Like, I would have gone to the Final Four if it weren't for these middling kids at Michigan State, right? Is that what you're saying? What are you doing?
Sometimes I just shut down when you do this.
Well, I'm going to have to restart.
Try to move on.
I'll just push there and restart.
Please don't.
It's very simple.
I don't like being touched.
By the way, you mentioned GW. Did you know that's one of the most expensive schools in the country, George Washington University?
Makes sense. Villanova's got to be up there, too, while we're talking about Big East teams.
You know what the most expensive school in the nation is, I believe?
Is it like Skidmore or something like that?
Harvey Mudd University.
Yeah, I knew it would be something weird.
Honestly. Like, every time I hear Harvey, I think it's Harvey Mudd. And I'm like, isn't that the guy that coached the Colts offensive line for years?
Let me tell.
It's like $65,000. What is that going to do for you?
We have a lot of kids that watch this show, so it's important to me to also talk sports, but also give life lessons. And one is never smoke cigarettes, and two, the other life lesson on this show, you're going to hear that what college you go to is the most important thing in the world when you're in high school. It's not. Go somewhere where you can be happy, succeed, build your social life, and all of that. And would it be great to go to a great academic institution? Of course. But this idea of 4-year colleges or all of that, WGU Indiana is a great option to get a degree.
Correct.
Or if you don't, a trade school, something like that, the possibilities are endless. That's actually their slogan, one of theirs, isn't it?
Ambition never rests.
Well, ambition, but isn't possibilities are endless one of their slogans
I
too?
think so.
Yeah.
It is now.
So we're incorporating all of this into it.
What else do we have to incorporate on this
We've got our features.
Episode, show, issue.
Like we're missing something. Oh, yeah. I said goodbye to my Hyundai. People are going to want to talk about that. Want us to talk about that. And I got a new car. Well, not a new car, a new used
What'd
car.
you do with the old one?
Traded in.
They took it?
Yeah, they did. They didn't know. The key is that when you're there to trade it in, don't ever let them do the inspection. So take another car when you're going to trade it in and be like, oh, I'll bring it in tomorrow. And then it's already a done deal. You sign all the documents, and then they have to take it.
Okay.
Sorry, I probably shouldn't, because the driver's side window does not work. and they didn't know that.
Okay.
Also, all the letters on Sonata have fallen off the back. They didn't know that either. And I only have the N and one of the A's and the T.
It would have been fun if only
So you could put tan on the back.
If the ATA would have fallen off,
Yeah.
then it would have been like you had Mr. Miyagi's car. It would have been a Hyundai Sun.
It's actually too bad because it was running really well. It just, everything on it was breaking.
Look at that. It's a beauty there.
So, so see the Sonata,
Hyundai
there are
Sun.
no letters.
Yeah.
The radio dial didn't work, the volume.
Okay.
So you couldn't change the channel or do any of the volume, so it was stuck.
$750 on trade-in.
I got $1,000 for it.
Did you really?
Yeah, amazingly.
Wonder what they,
I mean, it was attached to a purchase. I think sometimes they give you a little bit more
Right.
when they know that you're going to buy a car off their lot. But it was a good car. I've always been a point A to point B driver.
Is this your other car?
That's the new one. The Civic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, is back there. And this is just my garage and my
What
driveway.
year
in
Civic
Midtown.
did you get?
2014.
Okay. How many miles?
90.
Yeah, so you'll probably get another 100,000 out of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's what I do. I just drive it. You did it with your Grand Cherokee,
Oh, yeah,
even though
so-
you kept that thing 3 or 4 years past its expiration date. That thing was on 2 wheels.
Well, it appears as though, Derek, I'm already 3 or 4 weeks past my expiration date. So, I mean,
that is true.
It all balances out.
But, and to each their own. I know I have friends that they just trade in leases all the time and all of that. I've always been car is point A to point B. No frills, just something I can rely on and do regular maintenance with. And I'm just not I'm so flashy in other areas of my life because people say, well, Schultz, you're verified on Twitter, you're a public figure, you're famous and all that. I don't need to have the famous car too. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I don't need it.
All right.
I'm a humble guy, Jake. I don't know. I think our audience has noticed that. Humility is one of the big pillars.
Okay.
that
I'm
I
going to call
strive
Bull
to.
Schultz on that, which is, by the way, something else we need to get to
we
in
got
the
to get
program.
to that coming up here.
All right.
It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. So much to get to. Next.
Indiana dairy farmers provide us with safe, pure foods for our tables. A responsibility that takes intuition, resolve, and determination to make sure their milk is good for you and delicious to taste. Their connection with our community runs deep, passed down through the generations, ensuring that milk is always available at your store. It's not easy being a dairy farmer, but the rewards have special meaning when you can feed Indiana's families every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
Welcome back to Query and Schultz. Time once again to give out our Winner of the Week award, Winners Drink Milk, brought to you by the American Dairy Association of Indiana. And Derek, I love it because it means that I get to drink milk.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah, buddy.
You're supposed to read all the milk facts. I drink the milk, you read the facts.
I was thirsty. I told you I was parched a little bit.
Wow, you did just go through half that thing right there. That was impressive.
Yeah. It's
Look
good.
at you.
It's good. Milk facts, you ready? Mm-hmm. Chocolate milk, which you're drinking right now, and just regular white milk is good for you too. 1 8-ounce serving of low-fat chocolate milk has as much calcium as 10 cups of raw spinach.
Really?
As much potassium as a banana, and as much vitamin A as 2 boiled eggs. That's a lot of recovery nutrition in just 8 ounces of deliciousness. So when your workout is
Derek,
done,
not nutrition, nutrition.
Nutritionist.
Nutrition.
Or deliciousness. Sorry. winnersdrinkmilk.com. Maybe I need to drink some more milk so I can not fumble my words.
Yeah, the American Dairy Association of Indiana, I'm sure, thrilled and proud to have that fantastic endorsement.
Just
from
don't
Derek
make me
Schultz.
say Wood Warbler coffee because with the way I'm fumbling words today, it's been rough.
Actually, Wood Warbler coffee, as good as it is, fabulous with the little dash of milk from the American Dairy Association of Indiana. I'm actually going to go with 6 different winners, Derek.
You can't do that.
Sure I can.
Well, I guess it's winners, plural, drink milk.
Winners drink milk.
Okay, fine.
Right?
I'll allow it.
Eric Moore at Center Grove, Rob Doyle from Bishop Chatard High School, John Rodenberg from Roncalli High School, Bill Peebles, our friend at Cathedral High School, Sean Lyons, who was the interim coach, Covenant Christian, as impressive as that is in just their 6th year, Greg Rakestraw tells me, of playing high school football, And Justin Pelley, who has become a staple at Western Boone, all of those men leading Central Indiana schools to IHSAA state football crowns, and 3 of them, Peebles being one, Lyons because he's an interim obviously, and Rodenberg, who has done it elsewhere but not in Indiana. 3 of them are first-time Indiana state champions. To all of them, I say salute, and to the kids at each of those schools for winning what's become a great weekend in Indiana. All of those games at Lucas Oil Stadium Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, to those guys that I want to mention individually, Bill Peebles is about the nicest dude that I've ever met before. And he did a wonderful job turning around Southport, who was a total disaster 10, 12 years ago, into a winner. And then at Cathedral, where he played and won a state championship as a player, what is this, year 3 for him, I think, there? He was at LC for a bit. Year 3 or year 4, whatever it was, it's kind of a short tenure so far for him at Cathedral. For him to immediately win another championship for Cathedral as well shows what kind of coach he is, but just a great person.
You know, he is the brother-in-law of Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that family connection.
That is correct.
That with and we're about to get to Love That Play. Also, Eric Moore, Schultz fun fact, the first ever professional, paid radio show that I ever did was called the Center Grove Sports Show. And it was live, get this, from a booth at the Chick-fil-A at 135, Smith Valley Road down in Greenwood. And Eric Moore would come every week, and we would sit in the booth and eat waffle fries and talk Center Grove football. And that was in 2007 when they had a great season. One of their first – he had won, I think, and Rakestraw will know this. He had went to semi-state, I think, in 2000. They had a really good team. But then in 2007, his first real we've arrived team since then. And then I think they won his first state title at Center Grove was a year or 2 after that. But he's now a pillar of, he's like the Urban Meyer of Indiana high school football.
Correct. Huge fan of IndyCar radio.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. One of the 4 or 5 people that.
Yes. That like me.
Sorry,
is
that's.
that what you're saying?
I'm just. I shouldn't do that to you because that knocks all those broadcasters that I respect.
What is Covenant Christian's athletic nickname?
Crusaders.
So you have Crusaders?
I have no idea.
You don't know?
Yeah, no. I always guess when it's a Christian school. I always guess
right?
Crusaders. Yeah. I don't know. Eagles.
Eagles is a really good guess. Yeah, Eagles.
Let me look it up real quick.
But you have 2 schools with the same Trojans, right? Center Grove and Chittard, both the Trojans. Rebels, Irish, Stars, and then Covenant Christian. Did I say Irish?
Yeah, you did.
What's Covenant Christian?
The Warrior, just singular.
Really?
Yeah. Shooting in the walls of fire.
That's
bang, bang.
That's Patty Smythe and Scandal. I am.
That song still bangs.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Okay.
Love That Play. You want to do that with our play of the week from our friends Chris and John Love and the rest of the crew over there?
It's a challenging one because, Purdue losing to Rutgers, not good. The Colts, total disaster against the Titans. There really weren't any highlights in that game. Although T.Y. Hilton finally got back
that was good to see.
Into the mode of things, although he did get caught from behind on that one score. Love-HVAC.com. Love Heating and Air. Been around since 1920, folks. We're talking about a family-owned business now in its 4th generation, and the way that you're able to last that long, very simple. Integrity, great customer service, and great product and knowledge of product. You get all of that at Love Heating and Air, 353-2141. 317-353-2141. Love-HVAC.com. Mine, not necessarily a single play, but I watched the vast majority of, and look, credit to Zionsville. I thought Zionsville went out. They were big underdogs against Cathedral. Their passing game was fun to watch, no question about it. But each time that Cathedral, Zionsville would get back into it and get within a score, Cathedral would answer. And the Irish getting their 13th state championship, but the first under Bill Peebles, and because of the connection I mentioned earlier, that will be my Love That Play.
Yeah, let's keep it in the family there. I'm also going to keep it local. This player was a standout high school football player at Fishers. Did you see that Jeremy Chin scoop sixth, 2 fumble recoveries for touchdowns in 10 seconds, back-to-back plays for the Panthers? Did you see that?
I did not.
It's incredible. Go look it up if you haven't seen it. But Jeremy Chin had back-to-back touchdowns on back-to-back plays. I wonder how many times that's actually happened in NFL history because it doesn't appear that it's unprecedented.
Really? You mean literally on back-to-back plays, not back-to-back defensive
I
plays.
mean, I didn't exactly dig really heavy into it, but I haven't seen anybody say that it's never happened before.
How about the Colts giving up a touchdown on an onside kick?
Yeah. That was rough. Yeah, you got to have Rodrigo do that.
Brown receives it and then boom, right?
Yeah,
gone.
It was bad. It's really kind of a kick, to the pride for sure to have that happen to you. But good for Jeremy Chin, the second round pick, and he's been a nice player for Carolina.
You just mentioned Rodrigo Blankenship. Did we mention off the top of the show? Look, it's not like the two of us know him, and it's not like he's going to see this, but best wishes to Rigoberto Sanchez, who's been a very likable player for the Colts, and announced that the Colts team doctors noticed that he had a tumor that they determined is cancerous. He will have surgery. Theoretically, I would assume that means he is out for the year. Look, at his own timetable, obviously it goes without saying for his return and for the treatment that is going to be necessary for that. I'm sure we'll learn more about what form of cancer. That's fairly irrelevant. The important thing is his health and that he take the time necessary to come back. But he's been a very likable player and a humble guy since he's been with the Colts. It puts them in a bit of a situation now of figuring out who's going to punt the ball, but that's secondary to his health at this point.
Yeah, it's scary. I mean, anytime you hear the C word, it's not good. So, yeah, our thoughts with him, and the Colts will be fine. It'll be actually hard to replace his productivity because he's been a nice player for them. But it's our Love That Play for this week, 353-2141. Once again, love-hvac.com, and it's 36 and raining outside. This is the worst. So make sure that your heating system.
Make sure the furnace is going?
Yeah. Make sure that it's up to par.
All right.
We're going to come back next with Buy It or Bull Bleep. And then
Buy It or Bull Schultz.
Wrap up.
Okay.
No, it's not Buy It or Bull Schultz. It's called Buy It or Bull
now.
Bleep. And wrap up this episode 13 edition of Query and Schultz here on ISC Sports Network.
Indiana Dairy Farm, long workdays stretch into more labor after sunset. A newborn calf needs watching. Barn needs cleaning. Tractor needs some handiwork for tomorrow's tasks. Just like in your own home, the day's chores are never done until the family beds down for the night. Dairy farmers and their families share the same dream with all of us, that what we all do is worthwhile. Bringing to market pure, safe, and healthy dairy foods is what they do, from Indiana's dairy families to ours every single day. Learn more at winnersdrinkmilk.com.
We're a different breed, aren't we? While others rest, we choose to work. Where others are content, we stay hungry. They may not see us coming, but we know exactly where we're going. You won't rest until you succeed. Neither will we.
Back for a final time, Query and Schultz, episode 13. Thanks so much for joining us here on ISC Sports Network, or maybe you're listening via podcast, because
right.
You can also do that. iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeart.
Love that Spreaker root beer.
All of it.
Wonderful.
I don't know what you're talking about. Also on YouTube, every Friday we will upload the show. We want to give first crack to our faithful and loyal subscribers at iscsportsnetwork.com, either that or the ISC Sports Network app. But every Friday on our channel, the Query and Schultz YouTube channel, youtube.com/Query and Schultz, you can watch our show debut.
But we, of course, prefer that you are watching it on Tuesday as soon as it launches at ISC Sports on the app, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, we just
ISC
want you
Sports
to,
Network.
we want you to watch, period. That's why we kind of we put ourselves everywhere. Okay. We're talking about a billboard, too. Greg and Greg have mentioned that.
Billboard?
Yeah, working on that.
Okay.
I don't think they want you to be part of it, though.
That's fine.
They said they want people to, whoa, on the side of the road, and they feel like my face will
it would do that. I can
that.
assure you that.
That's nice. Thank you for agreeing with me.
Yeah,
finally.
well, I mean, people are more used to seeing mine.
Yeah, because you almost died. But, the newsworthiness of that is really that petered out pretty fast.
It did.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with that. Thank goodness.
People moved on.
Just assume not revisit that.
Whereas
topic.
my triplet story with the star, man, that went for months. I was getting stopped. But It's no big deal. Just shows who's higher profile. This portion of the show brought to you by our friends at Indiana Donor Network. Jake, 1,300 Hoosiers are awaiting life-saving donors to help with their organ transplants. And you don't have to, when you are an organ donor, anyone can sign up. There's no age limit. Any of that, and you could do it just like Brian Clausen did, the late great Brian Clausen, just like your uncle Earl,
Dwayne.
Uncle Dwayne received, right?
Correct. He was a heart recipient.
And from Indiana Donor Network?
No, he did. Once again, Derek,
Well, I don't know. Did he live in Indiana?
Thanks for asking these things ahead of time. My Uncle Dwayne actually lived in Nevada and had his heart transplant at Stanford Medical in 1985. But look, it extended his life, and you can actually save 7 lives. You can save up to 75 lives with tissue donation, and it's very simple. When you go to do your driver's license, you simply click that you want to be a donor. You can specify if there's certain organs that you want to keep or donate. All of that's very easy to do.
I should have
Indiana
asked,
Donor
you're
Network.
right, but I thought that all of the queries came from Ravenswood, and if
That
I
is
know
correct.
anything about Ravenswood, generally people in Ravenswood don't leave Ravenswood.
That is also correct.
You know, they are lifers. in
Dwayne,
Ravenswood.
Dwayne, in fact, was from Ravenswood, Derek, but at the age of 18, he joined the U.S. Air Force, and that
Oh,
placed
good
him
for
in
Dwayne.
Nevada.
So he served our country as well.
He did.
Yeah.
He did.
Good old
And
Uncle
served-
Dwayne.
And served Ravenswood.
Unofficial mascot of the show.
That's right.
Let's move on to Bite or Bull Bleep from
Okay.
our friends at the Shop Indy. You see the T-shirts that are up here, O'Malley's, Marsh's, not just grocery stores,
Razor
but
Shines,
anything Indianapolis. Razor Shines, Turkey Run State Park, I believe, is that one.
Indianapolis
And
ABCs right here.
we've got the Indianapolis ABCs,
Salute.
our Winners Drink Milk shirt as well. 20% off for the holidays with our promo code TUDDIES, TUDDIES. So type that in, and you save 20%. People have been asking, so TUDS does not work. Tud Bombs also.
Okay.
So Rick, I'm sorry, he emailed the show. I typed in Tud Bombs, nothing happened.
Rick emailed the show.
Rick emailed the show, Derek at QueryandSchultz.com, and said, hey, what's the deal? I typed in the promo code, and I said, well, what did you type in? He said, well, you said on the show last week, Tud Bombs. I said, well, no, the promo code is Tuddy, but we've started calling them Tud Bombs because the word is evolving.
Okay. Rick.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
What, are you
Green?
surprised? Like
Is it Rick Green?
Our listenership is
Rick
like
Green
99%
was the guy that
male.
originally hired us.
That's right. He actually got let go in the recent ones, but he retired. He was old enough where he decided
He was
that's
old
it.
enough. I'm sure.
Well,
he's
no,
thrilled to hear
okay,
that.
I didn't phrase that the right
I'm sure
way.
he's thrilled
Rick
to hear
Rick
that.
is a great
Okay.
guy, but he had like a 40-year career in radio, so that was his exit.
The one good thing about the place where we used to work, Derek, one of the things that we enjoyed was the holiday party, and holiday party back on because you can only have 15 people gathering in one place, and they have fewer than that left in the building.
Oh,
So,
come on. You know,
I'm just
we
saying.
still have people, Libby, Tim Walter.
I love all of them.
Yeah, Brett Bayshore, who was a great boss.
Brett was great, man.
Yeah, we really enjoyed it. It's sad. It's sad what's happened to that building because there are a lot of talented people that are no longer employed there. Let's get back to happier things. Bite or Bull Bleep. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether we bite or it's Bull Bleep. You guys know this by now.
Bull Schultz, yep.
Statement 1, the Tennessee Titans are the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC.
That's 100% Bull Schultz because, look, I understand when you have to win in the playoffs, as we saw a year ago, you got to be able to control the lines, and if you can run the ball and keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands, you got a chance. And Tennessee can run the ball with Derrick Henry, no doubt. But the biggest threat is the Pittsburgh Steelers because of their defense and the fact they have a competent, experienced quarterback. Pittsburgh's the biggest threat to the Chiefs.
It's hard to disagree. The Steelers' rush offense isn't very good. I still just view, and maybe we're short-selling Pittsburgh, Jake. I just still think that Kansas City is the team to beat, and I felt that way all along.
I mean, it feels like when they need to flip the switch.
To
they
me,
can do
Pittsburgh
so.
could go 16-0, and I still feel like Kansas City is the team to beat. I'm not ready to. The Titans have come off kind of a mediocre stretch, and they've really bounced back with that win against Baltimore last week and then thumping the Colts on Sunday. So, ebbs and flows of the season. This is obviously a getting back to a high point for Tennessee. I do think that they're built to win in the playoffs if we talk about that, even though some of the playoffs, so much of it is luck and circumstance more than it is, run the ball or throw the ball. Some of it is just you catch breaks or you don't. I thought Tennessee caught some breaks even last year, facing a flawed New England team that they went on the road to go ahead and beat. So I agree with you. I don't think that they're the biggest threat to the Chiefs. I'm not ready to say that, but I do think that they're very good. We've made fun of the Titans a lot on the show, and the fact is that we shouldn't make fun of them anymore because the Colts certainly don't own them anymore.
It's fair.
At least not in Indy. Back-to-back home losses to Tennessee. Statement 2, IU will, in fact, end up in the Big Ten football title game by default. Would require a COVID cancellation for Ohio State.
Well, unless there are massive COVID cancellations, which would bring down the average, the number of games that you have to play in to participate in the Big Ten championship game is based upon how many games have been canceled. So if there's a mass cancellation number, that number decreases. Ohio State could still get in. I think it's possible, and I think it would be fascinating if it's because Michigan canceled and no one else did, and that's what prohibits Ohio State from getting into the Big Ten title game. But it seems awfully far odds, and because Ohio State is a playoff contending team.
Yeah, good point.
That makes it, to me, seem like the Big Ten's going to do everything they can.
I agree with you.
To keep them in there.
I just don't. It's fun to talk about, and it's fun to dream. Even by default, it would be a huge coup for Indiana to end up in that game. But no, I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm going to say bull bleep on that. Statement 3. This is kind of random, but I saw some deals for these things, and I thought to myself, Jake might have been right about this. If you're a fan of the old radio show, you're going to know what I'm talking about, but we'll give some background. Query was right about smartwatches. Buy it or bull bleep?
Well, of course I'm buying that, not the smartwatches, but I'm buying what I said from the beginning. Refresh for people that are unfamiliar what it was I said.
When was Apple Watch first released? 14, 15,
Probably
something like that?
there,
Okay.
Yeah.
We had, I guess it was a slow day. I don't know. You know, these Apple events, it's like this big thing. They get in an auditorium and they have a big screen behind them and all that. And there was I think there was a big event for that day to announce the first Apple Watch. And Jake just went on a tirade about how dumb smartwatches are. And you keep trying to make this a thing. It's not a thing. I have my phone. Who cares? And there were a lot of people, especially Apple sycophants, like our friend Ryan Robertson, who called up and said, you're dead wrong. In 5 years, everyone will have one of these things. And you'll be looking at your phone less and all of that. And here we are 5 years later, and don't get me wrong, people like smartwatches.
They're around, sure.
I've never personally owned one, but my wife, as a nurse, it's really key for her to have the cellular and the alarms on when people need their meds. So she has it right there on their wrist. But for the most part, I don't think they've had the widespread relevance that some people thought they would have.
I would agree with that. And look, I know that there are certain things about them that are wonderful. Look, for people that, whether be an Apple product or a smartwatch in general, if
when
you're
working
diabetic
out,
and it can measure your blood
Yep.
sugar, or in my case, truth be told, ironically enough, I may have to get something similar to that to measure my heart and things like that. I get it.
Or your sleep, it can do.
Right.
Yep.
But the people that are like, I just love it because when I get a text, I don't have to look at my phone. I'm like, your phone is 4 inches from where your wrist is.
You're saving 2.5 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
Really? That's the selling feature here? Well, it's great because when I get a text and I'm sitting with somebody, I don't have to look at my phone and be rude. Yeah, instead you're looking at your watch. Same thing. No different.
No, I'm kind of with you there.
But I'm Derek, I'm old-fashioned because I actually enjoy having
a nice timepiece,
a wristwatch. Yeah. Like I enjoy wearing a watch.
This is a Timex that doesn't work from Target.
What do you mean it doesn't work?
None of my watches actually tell
it's
time.
10 till 3.
Yeah, none of my watches tell time. They're just fashion accessories. So I just try to match them usually with my shoes.
Okay.
So the gray on black there.
Well, those shoes you got on right now, they ain't working either.
Well, these need to.
Just so
I need
a they
Black
do match.
Friday deal. I'm actually watching an Apple Watch auction right now on eBay.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's it going for?
Right now, the highest bid is $85. But what happens is it's like piranhas. It's like a feeding frenzy.
Is it a
when it's in the
new
final
or an old phone?
No, somebody in like Wyoming or something has one that he says is in very good used condition.
Hold on. Speaking of which, Derek,
so
see if I can reach down here. Look what I wore today. You mentioned. I'm a
Cowboys.
I'm a closet fan.
There is a house. I think it's over by.
There we go. Hold on.
Keystone Sports Review that flies a Wyoming flag outside of it. Have you seen that before with the cowboy on it?
There we go. Now I got it.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, really?
There's a house over by KSR, like Keystone and Rural, like over there.
Really?
Keystone and Kessler. And
it's a great logo.
Yeah, and they must be an alum because why else would you fly that
flag? The state of Wyoming is absolutely beautiful. I've always said that I want to retire in Wyoming and have my ranch with my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about now because I have to admit, I'm like, I probably need to be closer to a hospital. I don't know that I want to be 30 minutes from a hospital.
And no children to take care of you or anything like that.
Right.
I mean, with you getting an advanced age, you can get an aide. I could drive you.
Sure.
Do you want me to? Is this your roundabout way of asking me to be your aide?
Yeah, no. Well, you pretty much already are.
Because I have other things going on in my life. I have my own child to take care of. I don't know if I can take care of an elderly friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to do that for you.
Well,
Thanks to our sponsors
see
today.
what Medicaid can't do for me.
WGU Indiana, the Shop Indy, our friends at St. Elmo, straight bourbon whiskey. This stuff is good, especially for the holidays.
Wonderful.
It's good all 12 months of the year, but especially in December. Indiana Donor Network, Love HVAC, American Dairy Association Indiana, and, of course, Wood Warbler Coffee as well.
WOOD, Wood Warbler, WARBLER, woodwarblercoffee.com.
We'll be back playing the hits next week, just like you expect every week on this show.
That's right.
ISC Sports Network. Take care, you guys. Happy holidays.
You're watching Query and Schultz on the ISC Sports Network.